All right, hello ladies and gents, this is Lindsay from Motivated Trader. I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of a rundown of how my morning went. I have been out for a few days with a pinched nerve in my back. Welcome to 40. I went and saw the chiropractor finally yesterday and had some relief. And so today I decided that I was going to give trading a shot. It was a little bit of a rough start for me. I did see a long trade here. This bar pulls back. What we have is that guppy belly start to look on the 610 EMA. This is my 610 EMA, my 1597 EMA, and this represents my highest time frame EMA, which it tends to pull back to like a magnet quite a few times. So I had seen a little bit of potential for divergence. There was definitely some divergence on the 610 here as the MACDs were leading higher and the price is leading lower. When it pulls back, it gives me this reversal bar. I got in on the next bar as the MACDs are leading higher. Things are looking great. I'm moving my risk up, and then next thing you know, it's pushing up hard. At this time, right as this bar finished and this bar started to form, it pushed down really, really hard. So I was like, well, let me start trying to move my risk. And I'm talking, it just smoked to the downside before I could even move my risk and hit my stop. So I lost 3 ticks on that one. The next one that happened, I said, ooh, I got a reversal bar. I'm leading above everything. Let me go ahead and give it a shot. And as soon as I did that, I said, wait a second. I'm not thinking properly here. All the EMAs are wide and spread apart. It did give me a reversal bar, but really there is no divergence on the 1597 just yet. I know this is not the proper thing. And even once it gives this bar right here, the one that I got in on, that's actually a nice signal for a short with the MACDs leading so strong down. So I hit the reverse, which I don't do very often. It's a very rare occasion that I hit the reverse button. I did that here and got right back in. My risk was initially, it was in a really good space because I got in still at such a great point. I want to say it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it would have been up here, and I pulled it in pretty quickly because as you can see what happens, it starts to push down, it pulls back, it gives us a bit of a reversal. I move my wrist behind this area. I want to make sure we're staying at the same points here. So here we are, and it's the first spot going, okay, well, we're hitting that first area that has, and it's a line that I drew more than anything. I went back and looked at previous behavior where different areas had bounced, and I'm looking at these closes. I'm not necessarily looking at the links of the bars, and so I had some closes in this area, which meant that I drew a line there. That's what's happening with these lines that I have on my MACDs as well. And so what happens at that point is that what happens at this point is because I'm looking at how everything is starting to, it did guppy belly in for just a moment, but it pushed really hard down. You're still below the zero line on everything on the 1597. So we still have some room to go. Once it pulls back and this starts to push back down, I'm not getting so concerned with it because everything is still in line. It pulls up, it gives a reversal bar, and then it pushes back down, and I move my risk along as I am moving, as I'm watching this happen. The MACDs are strong to the downside, and then at this point, there we go, the MACDs are starting to roll on our 1597. We've gotten back into that area, and it's really pushing hard to the downside. Now, when I first initially, I had 2 targets, and we'll see what those targets are. I had looked with my Fibonacci extensions, and I had gone, okay, where's my first area that we could have a stop, or how, this could take us out? Where's my second area? And I think I used a little bit different areas earlier, but here's, yeah, this is it. My first one was in this area. My second one where the cluster was way down here. But when I got to my first one, and let me just go ahead and remove these so they don't get in the way. Let's keep going, moving along. I'm moving my risk as it pulls back. Everything, right here, I wanted to go, ooh, it's got these bars closing to the upside. Maybe it's time for me to get out. But at the same time, everything was so spread down and opened up that it was really a good opportunity to hold on. It was just a weak retracement in the MACDs. This area that had been holding, it pulled back into it, and everything was still telling us more potential to the downside. So I moved my wrist down and let this keep rolling. It pulls back again. I move my wrist just behind this area. It keeps going. And then one more place to put my wrist. And let's keep going on this one. Here we go. And then finally, it pulls back a little bit right here. And yeah, I was sweating it just a bit, but we can see what's happening with the EMAs. There is a ton of strength to the downside. And just look at the distance between all of these EMAs right here. There's a lot of distance, a lot of spacing, which says we have a lot of strength to the downside. So it continues on, and I have some notes here for when I take my picture of it a little bit later on. It continues on and it pushes down. I move my wrist, and I move my wrist in pretty tight at this point, because even all these bars are sitting at the same spot, the MACDs aren't pushing down like I'd like to see. So it pops back up and it hits me because I had it in. I started pulling it in just a little bit too tight. Pops back up and it hits me, but that's all right. This was my first target area. So I took 6 1/4 off of that one. Had I been waiting for an actual exit without it hitting my stop, I'd put the arrow here as this starts to push up to the upside at that point. It continues back up, and I just mark an entry here because at this point I'm kind of mentally done, but you'll see I took another one, and I'll explain that to you in just a moment. My back is hurting just a little bit. There's still a ton of strength going down, so yeah, there was the opportunity. There was a lot of strength coming up in the MACDs. I posted, and this one was probably more along the lines of right here at this point, but I know I put that on there as I was watching it happen. It pulls down and it gets very close to my second target, which is way down here. So had I actually taken this trade, I did mark this in live time as it's time to get out of that puppy. So let me move that down here so we can see that. Now, as this is starting to happen, I'm starting to talk with one of our students, Miguel, and I was asking him, I wanted to know if he had caught the short. And we were chit-chatting a little bit about the potential for a long trade here. It pulls down, and it does give some pretty good long looks to it. And yes, I can see definitely wanting to take that long trade as it pulls back and gives this floor here. The MACDs on the 1597 are just lining up for it perfectly. But with all the strength down, and let me move this along too, with all the strength down, it's really hard for me at that moment right there to go ahead and just shift my thinking. I'm still thinking that this is going to push to the downside. Oops, don't want to do that just yet. Still thinking this is going to push to the downside because of all the strength. It's just pulling that magnet back. But there is a lot of strength to the upside in the MACDs. So as it pulls up, and my student and I were discussing the potential for a long trade here. And I said, yes, I definitely see it, but I'm not going to take it. So I did not take that long trade, neither this one. This is another one where he was saying, well, there's another potential for another long here. Now, what's happened here is that, yes, we do have that guppy belly look. It's pulled back up into this EMA right here. The 1597 EMA goes flat. It doesn't start to curl up, which I would need to see happening. I need to see both of these curling up and the 1597, the highest time frame EMA slowing down, see the potential for everything to really start pushing and angling up in order for me to take the long trade. So it pulls back, and right about here I'm going, All right, we got a reversal bar. We're leading lower. Now I'm really saying if you're taking this long trade here, you need to be considering an exit at this point. And let me show you what I mean by that. So if you're taking a long trade somewhere right in here, as this has some major retracement divergence, the MACDs have pushed down really low. The MACDs are really struggling to pull up, even though the price is pulled up pretty high. So you want to start considering an exit probably about right here when that happens. So it does come back down, and at this point I am chomping at the bit for a short trade, and it pulls back up into the area. MACDs are leading down still, so I'm ready for my short trade. Let me see if I can pull this up just a little bit. So where it comes back. Oh, I don't have it marked on here. Yeah, I forgot about that. I don't have my my arrows marked on there. That's okay. I turn them off because they get too tight and it's just too clustery, and it makes me feel a little overwhelmed with seeing all that. So now we can see that the EMAs are really pushing hard down. We've just pulled up and pinched these two together, which gives you a really good opportunity when it pulls back. It even pulls back a little bit more, and then it starts to push to the downside. This is the only MACD reaction in the 1597. I'm sorry, in the 610 when this pulls up. This is your MACD reaction when it pulls up on the 1597. That pullback, that close up higher, actually produced a BB pushing down further. So now I'm looking for my next target, and I was moving my risk along. I don't have marked here. I initially had it right here. I started to move it down once we got this. I was at a break even pretty quickly. Then I moved down here because at this point we do have major potential for divergence on the 1597. So I want to be really cautious. As soon as it died out right here at this area, I said, all right, we'll go ahead and take my exit. Got just a little bit of curve. Major retracement divergence. Yes, they're both going in the same direction, but look how much higher the MACDs are leading than the price in that pullback. So it pushes back up, and I'm out by this point. I can see the anticipations for another short. The bars are getting really long. It does eventually go down and touch my second target. Did I want to wait through all this to get to my second target? Heck no. I was actually really great with my previous exit and taking the opportunity to get back in. And I believe that after that, we had some divergence on the 610. We had some major divergence on the 1597 at this point, and it looks like it was giving a pretty decent push back up to the upside, and then it just smoked down through that that area. So that is, well, yeah, and look, it just kept pushing down. So you can see the EMAs just opening up, spreading apart, which gives a lot of potential for that push down. I mean, right here it's pulled back in. Yes, it gives you a great area to take another short trade. It's pulled back in again. Is this another great area for a short trade? Sure, it is, but I'm not a huge fan of taking it after this type of divergence, after seeing that struggling to keep going. But so, I mean, yes, it could definitely go back down from here once it pulls back in. The EMAs are miles apart from each other, but you still have a lot of strength up in both of the MACDs at this time, so it's not something that I want to just jump off in. I'm happy with the trades that I did take. Let me just go ahead and mark on here so you can see them when it pulls back. I would say somewhere right in here there is a hold up in this area, but the MACDs definitely give potential to push back down. Pulls up, pulls back at this time, absolutely an area for the short. And I'll show you the exits as it comes down. The MACDs give this little dip and it pulls back up. Tells me that it's probably going to continue back to the upside, especially if the MACD is rolling off here. It comes down, reversal bars, anywhere in this area to get back out. Right now you've got a lot of strength in the MACDs to the upside, so you'd have to see a pretty significant slowdown, or at least a roll, a pullback, something like that, in order to look for more trades to the downside. These, you can see these prices are just closing higher. It's like a little step ladder with MACDs super strong to the upside. So, like I said, to really see a shift in the momentum, I'm going to want to see this EMA pushing up hard, this EMA pushing up hard, pulling in closer together to this one to where they can really make a change. Yes, there will be opportunities along the way, but I'm not going to be convinced about that trade until that point. But that pretty much wraps it up, guys. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. I'll put it on my Facebook page under Motivated Trader. If y'all would like to, leave me any comments or anything, I would love it. Please follow me here if you don't already. And hope y'all have a wonderful day.